This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
You're welcome back to the conversation. Here on your Beyond the News station, we turn to matters that involve the Department of State Security Services, DSS, saying it will take legal action against social media site X, formerly known as Twitter, unless it deletes an abusive post by Omoyele Sowore and deactivates his account. In a letter to X, the DSS calls on the social media site to delete the account of Mr. Sowore as it contravenes sections of Nigeria's cybercrime law. Joining the conversation this morning is Justice Ojieno, who is a legal practitioner. Mr. Ojieno, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Good morning to you and good morning to all our listeners. It's my pleasure.
Glad to have you with us. Mr. Ojieno, can you speak to us just generally, first of all, about what Nigeria's cybercrime law prescribes?
Okay, it prescribes a lot of things. It prescribes, in particular, especially cyberbullying, spreading of fake news, which is one of the major reasons why it was passed. And also, I think on the borderline now, and I'm talking as a lawyer, and my preference or my bias is supposed to always be on the side of the people and against the government. Is an attempt by the government, especially when they are interpreting it in its extreme, to try to deprive Nigerians of the right to freedom of expression that has been genuinely and deeply given to them by the Constitution and tag the fundamental human right. So I feel that generally, whatever interpretation the government wants to give, provisions of the Cybercrime Act will always want to derogate from the right to freedom of expression given to the average Nigerian pursuant to Section 39. And it is the right of every Nigerian to always point the government back to the fact that any law that tries to contravene the provisions of the Constitution, whether it's Cybercrime Act, to the pretense of trying to derogate from the right to freedom of expression of every Nigerian, such provisions of the law or such interpretations should be discouraged.
So, Mr. Ojieno, it's worth noting that the DSS doesn't actually say that it's taking legal action. I want to quickly read the vagueness of their threat, right? They say that, and this is in the second to the last paragraph of their letter to X, this demand is unequivocal with its attendant consequence. Should you fail, neglect, and refuse to comply with the command in this notice, the federal government will be compelled to take far-reaching, sweeping, and across-the-board measures through our organization, whose mandate covers such criminal acts. That's really what they say, and then they give X 24 hours to take sufficient action or take necessary action as they describe it. This then begs the question of the options that are available to the DSS to take whatever the action is that they claim will be far-reaching, sweeping, and across the board. Can you speak to us on what the legal provisions are for the DSS in taking this action?
Okay, for me, I think that they do not have any legal provision under with the pretense under which they can take such actions. And this goes back to show us that what they are trying to do is an overreach. It is dictatorship for them to try to say this to us. And we should always be reminded that they did this in the past, where they actually prescribed X for a particular period, and of course negotiations were hard and reached, and they reinstituted X. I am very, very happy that X as an organization is at least the only social media body that we know that is pushing back on the extremism and the tendency to dictate of the government. And when I say there is no legal provision, this is not one of such. What Mr. Omoyele Sowore said in this instance is not unheard of. What he said was actually the truth, even though he used the word criminal. And as we have always said, and as our courts have always repeated, anybody who is in political office, if he cannot take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. What the president said in that particular in his statement in Brazil was unheard of. It is impossible for a country that is sitting pretty in number 36 on the Transparency International list for the president of such a nation to now be saying that crime and criminality has been corruption has been wiped out of Nigeria. When even Denmark, that is number one on the list, cannot say that. The only president that can say that corruption has been wiped out in his own country is the president of heaven. The president of any state or any country on earth do not have a right to say that. So when an activist now says that what the president said is wrong, then he's not untoward. It is the DSS that should look inward, and they should develop a better skill. The right to freedom of expression accommodate some of this kind of talk. So anybody that cannot take being insulted has no place in public office. So if the DSS does this, I do not see any law, I do not see any provision of the Constitution under which they can do that. And we must also always remember that this was also done. One of the charges presently against Nnamdi Kanu was that he insulted the president, President Buhari at the time. These are things that are unheard of in a democracy. Go to other countries that are practicing robust democracies. People insult politicians. It comes with the territory.
So, Mr. General, I hear you on the matter of X being a platform that pushes back against such requests. But I want to cite two instances quickly as we try to figure out what their response could possibly be. First, which you've alluded to, which was when essentially X was banned, then Twitter was banned from Nigeria. We saw that the attitude of the Twitter team at the time was not necessarily one that was one of urgency, put it that way. And now the platform is owned by someone who has not really hidden his personal opinions about African countries altogether. But the second instance to note is X, under the current ownership, has acquiesced to requests such as this from countries like India is a great example of that, right? This is 1.4 billion population, one of the biggest economies in the world, and quite influential in terms of diplomacy across the world. But essentially, when India requests that they block certain accounts, delete them, take down certain tweets, even though they pushed back, they eventually came to a place where what they're doing is responding to the requests of the country. Do you think that this is the case, or what do you assume may be the response of X considering these two instances I've cited?
Okay, I'll just add to the instances. We must also be reminded that presently X is taking on Turkey, the Turkish government. That's number two. Number three, we can also see the slant of X when it comes to freedom of speech in the U.S. I feel that with the latest ownership, of course, let's drop name now with Elon Musk, it looks like he's willing to let free speech really be more robust, because that town square is one that is very, very important for free speech. So having said all of that, what I feel their response is they started showing their hand. They sent Omoyele Sowore this message, and Omoyele Sowore too, I think the day before they commented on it, the fact that they actually advised Omoyele Sowore to seek legal advice and legal avenues to in defense of his rights. So in telling him that, I also feel that they too may be exploring that option, and I encourage them to do that, because once they keep doing that, the government will know that they have to hold back. They have to develop a thicker skin in this regard. And other social media companies, in order for Nigerians to be able to trust them and to know that they are on their side, they too must try to explore this and not under the table when there's a government request, whether it is meritorious or not. They just cave in and practically betray the Nigerian people, or betray the people of the world, or betray the very, very important concept of the freedom of expression.
Mr. Ojenor, thank you very much for your time and expertise on the conversation. Justice Ojenor is a legal practitioner who joined us on Now Breakfast to speak about the statement by the Department of State Services regarding the tweet and accounts run by Omoyele Sowore. Their statement, which was published on X, was directed to the management of X, and it regards certain provisions of the cybercrime law, which they say criminalizes the statements that have been made by Mr. Omoyele Sowore regarding the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and his comments about the state of corruption in Nigeria. You're still listening to Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, your Beyond the News station. We urge you to stay tuned right here on Now Breakfast. The conversations continue.
Grab a seat, pour a cup of coffee, and join the conversation on Now Breakfast.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Members,
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.